Hello. So today I want to talk about uh, some ideas I've been having for a new way of building player interactivity within games. These are ideas that have been on my mind for some time now, and let's get let's get into it. So, as a lot of people have once said before, if I have seen further, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants. And I'm not gonna claim here that I actually have seen further. I don't believe I have. Um, Maybe I have seen around the same distance than these other giants, but I did have many inspirations that I would like to talk about before we get into my ideas. And the first inspiration I had is from this Naked Jakey video called Rockstar's Game Design is Outdated. I think this video is now like probably 2 years old or older, like. And in this video, Naked Jakey, I'm just laughing because it's funny. Like I'm trying to say Naked Jakey in a serious manner, and it's just funny. But he talks about like Red Dead Redemption 2 and how Red Dead Redemption 2 is a insanely huge game. It's open world, and but he's gonna point out in this video that even though there are a lot of things you can do in the open world area of the game, when you get to like main story missions, the design of the missions is very linear and very strict. There is not a lot of player freedom in how you handle the missions. And I think one of his examples is of a mission he it's been a while since I watched the video, but one of the examples is a mission that you do, and he tried to I think he tried to like climb a building or something, or just like deviate from the expected path that the player should take. And if you do that, the game fails or the game doesn't expect you to be there. And even though like Red Dead Redemption 2 has a lot of things that you can do in the open world game, right? You can make like a camp, you can interact with dogs, you can there's the bounty system, so depending on what you do in the city, you're gonna have a bigger bounty. Um, when you get to the main story missions, they are very scripted and linear and strict. So let's just keep that in mind, and let's keep in mind what the inspirations I had are talking about and thinking about, I guess. The second one is from a talk at GDC 2014. It's called Narrative Logos with Ken Levine. And Ken Levine, he's the director of Bioshock 1 and Bioshock Infinite. And he's currently making a new game called Judas that implements what he described in this talk, and it's very interesting. It's like from 2014, and I have only watched it yesterday, and and one of the reasons why I'm making this presentation right now is because of this talk. I had the ideas that I'm gonna talk about it in the presentation for a while, and I was thinking about making a game with them to try to test them, right? See if it works and how it works. But right now I'm currently it's just not a priority to make that game for me. And in this talk, Ken talks about like just starting a conversation, and I thought it would be nice if I could just show my ideas, and if someone picks it up and agrees with it, they can, or disagrees with it, they can maybe be inspired by that and do something different or just make something at all. So this is why I'm doing the presentation. And oh, also I'm gonna leave the links in the description of this video for these two presentations. So I recommend you to stop, pause this video and go watch them first. If you don't, that's fine. I'm gonna talk a bit about what this presentation is. I'm gonna talk a bit about what like Ken is going to describe in this presentation he gave at GDC, but it's nice if you can watch the video first and then come back here. And in this talk, Ken talks about how he gives an example of a narrative building for a game, and this narrative building would be like a new style, and I'm gonna try to use the same example he does, which is of factions in a, let's imagine a fantasy world, and you have different races. So you can have elves and orcs, for example. And then Ken would say that in those two different races, you could have what he calls a star character. And a star character is a character that's important to the narrative, and it's a character that interacts with the player, and they have a meter of how much they like the player or dislike the player, and it's like a gradient, right? So at first you're neutral because the player and the star character haven't interacted yet, but then you can shift this neutrality, I guess. And let's say the star character is an elf, and he tells you to go and kill some murlocs. I don't know, like WoW reference, but he tells you to kill some like type of entity that exists in the world that is causing him problems. And if you take this mission and you do this mission, then the star character will like you more, and you get some benefits out of that. So maybe the star character, he owns a shop, and if you do this mission, you now have a 20% discount on some items on the shop. And you can keep doing things for the elf, and how much he likes you will start to increase. And the missions, like as much as he likes you, he'll give you new missions, and these missions will give you like more benefits. And the opposite is also true. So if you start doing things that the star character doesn't like, you also have disadvantages. So let's say you fight against elves for some reason, because you're doing not for some reason, but because you are doing a mission for an orc, which is from a different faction. And then this elf star character, he's gonna be like, oh, you just killed like a bunch of elves, so I'm not gonna help you, or not. It's not that he'll try to make your life harder, right? So in the next mission, you might face against more enemy elves that were sent by this character. So doing things will have repercussions, but also like positive repercussions, but doing things can also have negative repercussions for other characters, and choosing to not do things can also have negative repercussions. That's basically it. Then we have Hades, the game. I watched a really nice video talking about Hades' dialogue system and how when you interact with a character, depending on if you have an item or if you don't have an item, or if you're doing well in the game or if you're doing poorly in the game, if you just defeated Hades in the past run or if you died to Hades in the last run, the dialogues of the NPCs will change. They will take those facts into consideration, and they will have different dialogues. And depending on what you do, you might have, let's say you just beat Hades for the first time, and so in your next run, that's an important thing that a character will like to mention. So that thing has a higher priority, and so the character will, when he sees you and he will talk to you, he will mention that right away. And so it is random, but some things have higher priority over others depending on a bunch of circumstances. And so my initial idea at least, was to make a global timer event-based open world game. And let's get into that. Like, what does that mean? First, what global timer means. So in real life, a lot of things happen you being there or not, right? Like, it's not like you can start a thing. Like you can be there or you cannot be there. But the thing happens anyways. The thing doesn't care about your existence. And that's not something I have seen before in any games. Like, it's a bit scary because you're making content that the player might miss, and missing a lot of content could be frustrating for the player. And also you're going to as a developer, and you're gonna have to work on some stuff that maybe a lot of players won't see. So it's a bit tough because, right, making games is not an easy thing, and you don't want to spend hours and hours and weeks and months on something that the players won't experience. But I think this could give a good amount of replayability to certain games. So let's say you have something that, let's say the player misses something that's on a global timer. Maybe he will know that he missed that and he will want to experience that firsthand. So that adds like replayability to the game. He could start the campaign again to try to catch that. And also, you could tell the player when something is going to happen in a specific part of the map, so they could decide if they want to be there or not. So, and then you could have, right? You could have things that are happening that are one time, take it or leave it. So, it's gonna happen only once. You could be there and participate on it or not. And it could happen from time to time, or be cyclic. So every X amount of time, that thing happens. And yeah, and as an example, let's say a star character tells the player they're going to rob a store at 3 a.m. and let's say that this star character is a member of a gang, and you can if you want, you can join his gang, and he tells you, oh, we're gonna go rob this place at 3 a.m. If you want, You need to go through a trial to join the gang, and we'll be there if you want to join. Go there, and we'll see how you like um, how you do in that situation, and depending on it, we're gonna like allow you to join the gang or not. So the player could choose to go there, but the player could also say like I don't. He could also choose to not engage with that and miss the opportunity, and then maybe if the next time you talk to this star character, he says like, "Oh, you weren't there, but if you really want to join, we can do. You can have a second chance, or maybe you missed that thing for good, and that that is the thing that's now locked, and now you have certain paths in the game that you are not gonna be able to get to experience because they were locked because you deliberately decided not to participate, right? And yeah, let's go to the next slide. Then, so that's the global timer aspect of it. Then you have event based. So instead of having missions that I'm just using the word event, but they are pretty much just missions. You could call them missions, but just trying to use another word for it because instead of having missions that you go there and you do them in a sequential uh, format, the idea is that you would have events that are non-linear, and you could have events that depend on others. So I guess you can think of a GTA mission. So, but in GTA, you can do like, oh, you can choose between doing this mission or this mission, but you're not making a decision that's relevant to the narrative. You're just choosing in which order you're going to do them. Like, oh, I can do all the missions from, like, let's think GTA San Andreas. I can do all the Big Smoke missions, and then I can do all the, I don't know, I don't remember the name of any characters. I didn't play GTA San Andreas that much. But yeah, let's say you have Big Smoke missions and you have the X character missions. You can choose to do all Big Smoke missions and then all X character, or you can do a Big Smoke one, then you do an X character, then you do a Big Smoke. So you're not really choosing anything that has a practical impact on the game. You're just choosing what you want to do now, just the order of them. Um, Events, you could have events that by participating in an event, you are locking others away. So if I choose to do this event, let's say I do an event for like a gang, for a specific gang, and the other gang knows about that, and well, now that I helped this gang, this other gang is not gonna like me, and so I'm locked off doing events from this other gang. So the player's decision would matter a lot. Yeah. You could still have events that only occur when triggered by the player. So events could be on a global timer, but also it could be more of on the style of a mission. Uh, there is no reason not to do that. So the ideas I have for these things I'm talking about, I want them to be like an add-on of what we have already, not through like a replacement for what we have. So anything that we have right now, we could also use that, right? To to design these events and how they happen and how they are intertwined. Choosing to not participate in an event would also have consequences. So like I mentioned in the last slide, if you choose, if you deliberately choose not to be there for an event, like a character might not want to talk to you anymore, or he might give you a different mission, or you might lose like he might lose trust on you, and so now you you need to do more missions for him to get to a certain threshold that you wanted, or you might lose a specific advantage you had, like that example that I gave about the 20% discount on shop items. Yeah. And the last is you could have random events that would not be significant to the narrative of the game. So I'm gonna use an example here. I played a lot of Spider-Man on the origin, like on the PlayStation 2. I think it was Amazing Spider-Man, and on that game, you were web swinging through the city as Spider-Man, and you would have random events, I guess, where there would be some bad guys robbing someone, and you could choose to help that people and beat the bad guys. That didn't have any effect on anything. You could literally just ignore that and just go to the main mission. But so you could have something similar for a game, but you would have to think of a way to try to incentivize the game, try to incentivize the player on doing that. So in that case, maybe you get more XP for beating more, like beating enemies, or you can get more gold, or you could loot them and get some items. So I don't know if yeah, I think those are good ideas to try to incentivize the player to engage in some of these random events. So I want to go through just an example now, or two examples, on how I think this could like be implemented. Um, oh, one thing I forgot that is very important is on this slide, what are, like on this example that I was talking about, the 3 a.m. robbery. Let's say you have the robbery at 3 a.m. So let's say we get to the place at 3:15 a.m. The robbery would be happening at that time, so you would arrive at the event in the middle of the event, and then the characters could react to that. So maybe the gang leader would say like, oh, you were late 15 minutes, but you saved our ass, so you could still have the spot on the gang. But yeah, but the idea is that the events happen, like they literally happen in game, whether you're being there or not. So if you get there late, there will literally be like NPCs doing what they would have done if you were not there, and if you were there from the beginning, right? And I think that could be very interesting. This idea I actually think is like an idea that could be extremely interesting for games. It would be hard to implement, I think, but I mean games are games are already hard, okay. So let's get to like this example. So let's say you have two different gangs in a city, in a GTA style game. And you have Jack, which is the leader of one of the gangs, and Robin, which is the leader of the other. And let's say that Jack and Robin don't know that you are working with both of them, right? So Jack doesn't know you are working with Robin, and Robin doesn't know you are working with Jack. And this is like in the mid game, so you have played some hours, you have done missions for both of them, but they don't know you're helping the other, the other star character. So they both of them would be star characters. So then at some specific like point in the game, Jack like sends you a text message and he says, "Hey, I am going to steal Robin's necklace because I heard she's doing like she's going on a bank robbery at this specific time. If you want, you can come and help me." And you receive a text message from Robin saying, "Hey, I'm gonna rob this bank, and if you wanna come, you can come and we can plan it and rob the bank together." And then, if and yeah, and like those two things happen at the same time, so it's on the player to choose what they're gonna do. So let's say you choose to steal Robin's necklace. So you go with Jack, steal Robin's necklace, so you miss the bank robbery. Robin is not like super pissed about it. And then Jack tells you like, "Hey, I stole this necklace because I want Robin to come get it back because it's very important for her and whatever. And I'm gonna have a trap, and I need to kill her because if I kill her, I want to take like control of the dogs." And then Robin sends you a message saying, "Hey, I just heard like I just noticed that my necklace is missing." And maybe Jack put a note there like claiming that he was the guy who stole it and saying like, "Oh, come to this place and whatever." And he's like, "Hey, I need help getting my necklace back, right? Just yeah." So it's another instance of something that would happen at the same time, and you could choose sides. And so let's say you robbed her necklace, but you don't want her to die because, and we could like as developers tell this to the player, like if Robin dies, you lose control of this region of the map, and you will make $100,000 less than you would, and whatever. And she dies, and you can't continue doing missions for her. And let's say that you want to continue to do missions for her. So now you could go to the trap and help Jack, but you can also go and help Robin. So for the second instance, like in this, for this situation here, you could choose to go help Robin, and then you maybe kill Jack if you help her, whatever. But the point is that you could have situations where the player needs to choose a side, and you could have things that are locked by other things. So maybe if you chose not to maybe let's say you chose to rob the bank, then you would be locked off trying to kill Robin. So you couldn't choose like to rob the bank and then trap and kill Robin. But you could choose to steal the necklace and then help Robin. So you can have a lot of variation on things that could happen, and I think that that's very interesting. Uh, so when I was thinking about these ideas, when I first thought about them, I thought about making a simple 2D game to try to implement them. And what I thought about was to make a game where you have a map and you have 9 areas, different areas, right? And let's say that you only see one of these areas per time, I guess. So the camera locks on one of those areas, and let's say you start at the middle. If you go up, the camera follows you up and locks on the top camera, like a Binding of Isaac floor. How the rooms work. And let's say that at the bottom right of the map you have a puzzle that you need to to like to beat, to progress on the game. And at the top left you have a tip on how to complete that puzzle. So the parts of the puzzle are on different parts of the map. But this tip that appears here, it only appears like every 2 minutes for 15 seconds, I don't know. So it might be the case that when you're playing, you come here and you don't see anything relevant. So you think, oh, this area doesn't have anything important. So you go and you explore the rest of the map. And then when you get here at this point, the puzzle would indicate, or something would indicate, that the solution for the puzzle is on the top left. So like, oh, I don't, like, I've been there and there wasn't anything, might as well go there again, maybe I missed something. And then on the second time, you might appear there on the specific time, and it might, and you might see what, like, the solution or the tip for the solution. Or maybe on the second time you go there and you don't see the tip again because you missed it. So you like go to another place on the map. Let's say you come here, and at this point, like, let's say you do a mission or you solve another puzzle, and by solving this puzzle, then let's say there's a character here and he says, oh, there's something weird that happens like every 2 minutes on this area of the map, you should go check it out. And so even for things that happen on this like global timer that the player doesn't need to be there to interact with it, you could still have ways to indicate that there will be something there that the player should care about. And yeah, this is like another idea I had of how we could implement this. Yeah, I think that's it. So this is the end. As I said, this is more a video to just be out there, and maybe something will come up with it. I would like to try to implement a simple system based on this. I don't think I'll do it in like in a short period of time, like in a near future, because I'm making some other games right now, but I'll probably end up trying to do something like this. Again, I'll leave in the description the links for the videos I mentioned as inspiration. And if you watch this video and you agree with something or disagree, leave a comment. I'll try to answer everyone. And that's it. Thanks for watching. Bye.